Yann Martel's Life of Pi isn't just some survival story. Nope, it's more like a puzzle, a really fascinating one about faith, reality, and the stories we tell ourselves. And it all kicks off with one heck of a bold promise. Right there, that's the line that sets this whole thing in motion. It's a challenge, really, thrown down right at the beginning. The book is basically saying, forget what you think you know. I've got a story so powerful it could change everything for you. So, what kind of story could possibly do that? Well, there you have it, the unbelievable premise. A 16-year-old boy stuck on a lifeboat in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean, and his only company? A 450-pound Bengal tiger. This is the story that's supposed to make us believe. But to get it, first, we really have to get to know the boy at the center of it all. So, our main character is, well, he's no ordinary kid. His entire life, it seems, has been one long preparation for this impossible journey. It's like the perfect setup to test the very limits between what's rational and what's divine. Okay, so his name is Pi Patel, named after a famous swimming pool in Paris of all things. But you know how schools can be? That quickly got turned into something less flattering. So what does he do? In this brilliant move of self-reinvention, he walks into his class, marches right up to the blackboard, and declares himself Pi, just like the number 3.14. Right from the get-go, this is a kid who gets the power of telling your own story. And this, right here, this really gets to the core of who Pi is. When he grows up, he majors in two things in college: zoology and religious studies. For him, science and faith, they're not fighting each other. They're just two different ways of looking at the same incredible world. He's totally at home with the hard facts of biology and the deep mysteries of faith. And his faith isn't just one simple thing either. Pi becomes a devoted follower of three of the world's biggest religions at the same time. He doesn't see them as competing for the truth. For him, they're like different rooms in the same beautiful house. He finds something to love in all of them: the amazing stories of Hinduism, the story of sacrifice in Christianity, and the sheer devotion he feels in Islam. He's basically a collector of stories about God. So you've got this really unique kid. And then his family decides to pack it all up and move from India to Canada. They sell their zoo animals and hop on a Japanese cargo ship, the Tsimtsum. And this is where that unbelievable story really, truly begins. The Tsimtsum sinks, just like that, in the middle of the Pacific. Pi is the only human survivor to make it onto a lifeboat. But here's the thing, he is not alone. His fellow survivors are a zebra, a vicious hyena, an orangutan, and, hiding under the boat's cover, the zoo's main attraction, a Bengal tiger named Richard Parker. Now, against all odds, the lifeboat is actually stocked for survival. I mean, finding this stuff is a miracle in itself. There are cans of water, biscuits, flares, blankets, even a survival manual. These very real, very practical things ground this wild story in a grim reality, giving Pi the tools he needs to even have a fighting chance. Of course, the brutal laws of nature take over pretty fast. The hyena kills the zebra and the orangutan. And then Richard Parker, the tiger, kills the hyena. And suddenly, it's just Pi and the tiger. But remember, Pi is a zookeeper's son. He knows he has to be the alpha. So he actually uses the rocking of the ocean to make Richard Parker seasick, all while blowing a whistle. The tiger starts to connect that sound with feeling awful, and just like that, Pi establishes dominance. It's a total battle of wills. Human ingenuity versus animal instinct. After 227 days, can you even imagine? Pi washes up on a beach in Mexico. He's alive? Barely. Richard Parker just walks off into the jungle, doesn't even look back. Pi is rescued, and his incredible story becomes news. But, well, not everyone is buying it. Two officials from the Japanese Ministry of Transport show up to interview Pi about what happened to their ship. They listen to the whole story, the tiger, the floating islands, everything. But at the end of the day, their logical minds just can't wrap around it. It's too crazy. It's too unbelievable. And this is the moment where the entire book just pivots. Faced with their disbelief, Pi looks at them and calmly offers them something else, a completely different version of what happened out there on that lifeboat. A story without any animals. So he tells them this second story. And this version, it's a lot more believable, sure, but it is a million times more horrific. Pi basically strips away all the magic and wonder and gives them a story of raw, brutal human survival. In this story, there were 4 human survivors: a sailor with a broken leg, the ship's cruel cook, Pi's mother, and Pi himself. And the parallels, They are absolutely chilling. The savage hyena, that was the cook, who killed the helpless sailor and then killed Pi's mother. The gentle orangutan, that was his mom trying to defend herself. And Richard Parker, the tiger, well, that was Pi, who finally snapped and unleashed his own savage side to kill the cook. Pi finishes this second awful story and just looks at the two officials. He's given them two different stories to explain the exact same outcome. They both end with him, alone as the only survivor. Now, they have to choose. And that's his ultimate question. He points out that, look, neither story can be proven. Neither one explains why the ship sank. In both versions, his family is gone, and he's suffered terribly. The only difference is how you tell it. The only real choice is which one is the better story. And that is the choice at the absolute heart of this book. The human story is just bleak. It's a story of murder and cannibalism and meaningless despair. But the animal story, even with all its tragedy, is also filled with awe, with the miracle of survival, with this strange, incredible bond between a boy and a tiger. One is just unbearable reality. The other is reality transformed into something more. So the officials are just sitting there, completely stunned. They're faced with this huge philosophical question. And their decision is going to be the official record of what really happened. They choose the better story, the one with the tiger. In the end, these men of facts and figures of logic and reason, they take a leap of faith. They choose the story that gives meaning to the suffering, the one that has room for wonder. They choose the story that just maybe makes you believe in God. And that leaves us with the exact same question, doesn't it? The book seems to be saying that life is full of things we can't explain, suffering, loss, miracles. And we can choose to see that as a story of cold, hard, meaningless facts. Or we can choose to see it as a story of wonder, of faith, of meaning. In the end, the only question that really matters is, which story do you prefer?